of the chat. Great. Do you want to say something or should I say something?
I'll start the introductions.
Oh yeah. You will introduce me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on behalf of the Sylvia Plath Society. I'm excited to celebrate Dorka's launch of her exciting new book, Sylvia Plath and the Supernatural. Dr. Dorka Tamás is a researcher and teacher. She specializes in 20th century women's poetry, particularly Sylvia Plath, the legacies of early modern witch hunt in literature, and post 1945 American culture. She has spoken at the Sylvia Plath Literary Festival in Hebden Bridge and at many academic conferences. She is the editor of the new Sylvia Plath Studies, which will be an exciting collection, also published by Cambridge University Press, and co-founder of the Sylvia Plath Society.
Thank you. Let me just get my presentation up and then we can start. Um, all right. Can you see my presentation?
Yep. Oh,
Great.
you just joined. Hello.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda, just keep admitting people if they come. Great. So the sort of order of this launch day is that I'm going to do a little presentation and then read a short part of the introduction of the book. That's sort of two sections merged together. So I give you an overview of the book. And then Amanda and I are going to have a little conversation, some questions, and then you can also ask questions if you have any. A little bit of housekeeping. The ebook of the book is going to be published on the 19th of February, and I was told yesterday by the publisher, so this is very recent, that unfortunately the hardback is a little bit delayed. So if you have already pre-ordered the book, that's fine. It's just going to come a bit later. Um, if you haven't, it will come at some point. And yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for taking time from your Saturday to come and join. Great. So I wanted to introduce myself a little bit because there are so many people here today, and probably a lot of you know me, but some don't. So I'm based in England. I'm affiliated with the Royal Holloway University,
Yeah.
London.
It,
If you could meet yourself, that would be great. Um, as Amanda mentioned, I co-founded the Sylvia Plath Society with Julie and Kitty in 2019, and we have been running a lot of online events, other book launches, and hopefully we will do other book launches in the future as well, and some online events. This event also comes quite close to the death anniversary of Plath, so sort of an event that also remembering her and remembering her as an important writer for all of us. I write about magic and witchcraft in 20th and 21st century literature. I'm also interested in post 1945 American culture, environmental humanities, and so on. My academic publications include some of the following. Um, as Amanda said, I'm editing the new Sylvia Plath Studies collection, and there are some more to be revealed, which are going to be some exciting new publications. And I'm also in the process of writing or thinking about a book proposal for my second book. So, uh, for the second book that will eventually at some point come. If you are in this event, you probably know roughly what's the book about, but if you have not read any of the following summary, I just thought I'd put it out for you, what this book does and what I'm trying to achieve with this book, to bring a new perspective to Plath's writings and look at her creative and intellectual interest in early modern literature, her wide knowledge of the witch trials and the relationship between gender and magical powers. And I look at not just Plath's poetry, but prose, the bell jar, and a lot of newly published nonfiction writing as well. I wanted to say a couple of words about the table of contents. So the book is divided by 7 chapters. These are not necessarily chronologically ordered, but some do follow each other. They're more centered around one main concept or aspect of the supernatural, let's say. Was something that was really important to me throughout um, the writing and how this book came to be. That the last chapter is about the bee poems. So that's a little homage to how Plath wanted to end Ariel as well. The first 2 chapters are largely about the American witch hunts and contextualizing Plath's knowledge, a lot about McCarthyism as well, some about the bell jar and reading the bell jar in comparatively with Arthur Miller's The Crucible. The second chapter is establishes Plath's Cold War politics and looks at the metaphor of religious prosecutions in the draft of Ariel, in the draft of Lady Lazarus and Fever and 103 Degrees from Ariel. The next 2 chapters look at Plath's sort of the influences she had from literature, especially early modern stuff, classical stuff. So I look at the Shakespearean influences in her writings, Dr. Faustus and Goethe's Faust, as well as their place in post-war America and how they have been used in both poetical and political discourses and discussions. Then I move on to chapters that look at the language or the way in which the supernatural or magic functions. So one of them was ritual magic, and that chapter looks at the drafts and a lot of the drafts and how it evolved, Plath's Daddy, and the poem Burning the Letters. And supernatural transformations is, as the title says, a lot about the way in which supernatural transformations can be supernatural and can be both liberating and restrictive for women in literature. And then the last chapter sort of circles back to the historical political context, but instead of America, I look at post-war Britain and the return of the dark other associated with witchcraft and the way in which that was very prominent um, in post-war Britain because of the immigration coming from both both former colonies as well as Ireland. The cover image that I wanted to say a couple of words about why I choose this one. Um, so this is a photo of Plaid that's part of the Gordon Lamer collection at the Lilly Library in Indiana. And there were many reasons why I chose this cover number one because it was free to use. So things from that collection are not protected by copyrights in that sense. And another reason that this photo has never been used, as far as I know, for a cover on a book about Plath. And this was a very vibrant photo, very colorful, and I really wanted to emphasize her as a colorful person, as a person that has much to offer to us than often the darkness that she's associated with, and she's surrounded by books. And I thought that was really nice as well, that it shows her intellectual engagement with text, with literature. And I thought that there was something magical in this photo with the sepia undertone. So I'm really happy with how the cover turned out. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about why did I write the book, basically. There were many reasons. The number one is that there has been a little resurgence or renaissance of Plath studies that's a lot to do with newly published materials. So the letters of Sylvia Plath, edited by Peter and Karen, have been really useful and important to my work, as well as Heather Clark's monumental biography of Plath, Red Comet. And the collected prose of Sylvia Plath, published in 2024 by edited by Peter. And something I also wanted to just highlight, that we have the new poems of Sylvia Plath published soon, edited by Amanda and Karen, and recently also endorsed by the legendary Patti Smith. So this is something that really I think we are looking forward to reading a lot more of Plath's poems that are have been so far in the archives or lost. The second part of my research has been, around witches and demonology and magic, and this is something I guess as a millennial woman have been always in my life with witch media and books about witches and magic, um, and I guess I try to find a way to combine my two interests, my two hobbies, and this was the outcome of that. Um, my research trip at the Smith College in 2023 has been also very, very important to this book. And that's where I met Amanda the first time in person, who has been really helpful to me as well throughout this cycle of writing a book. Um, as well as when I went to Northampton, I also got to visit Salem, the Salem Witch Museum in Massachusetts. And that really gave me a lot of context on the geographical closeness of how Plath closely lived to this place that's associated with and really bears the legacy of the witch trials. Finally, a quote that Plath herself said, something that was really important in my book as well, that Plath thought about herself as the high priestess of intellect. So again, highlighting her intellectual engagement and curiosity and going back always to that as her main legacy. I mentioned that if you are here, you will be eligible for the giveaway, and that was something I will do a raffle later on. And because of the book delay, you won't get it until probably early April, but I will email to the person, whoever will be the lucky one to get the book. And because I know that academic books are really pricey and I don't expect people to, really buy that. Um, so you can access it, via your institution. If you are affiliated with the university, please ask your local library, your university library to order the book, to pre-order the book. And if you are part of a journal, if you run a podcast, if you want to interview me, you can also get a review copy that counts as a marketing copy, and the publishers are always really happy to give that out. So get in touch with me if you have something. I'm always happy to help as well. So that's another way to get a free copy if you want to, if you can. And lastly, yeah, that's something I will also put in the chat where you can pre-order the book and use this code for to get a 20% discount if you pre-order it from Cambridge's own website. I will put that after the presentation in the chat. And something I also wanted to highlight, I see this book launch as sort of a start of the promo cycle of my book. So I'm going to do a talk in April in London. Location is to be announced with an organization called Seed Talks that work with academics to disseminate talks. Um, and they were very much interested in my topic on plant poetry and witchcraft. And according to their market research, it's something that people are interested in. So that's going to be a ticketed entry. So if I know the location and date, I will obviously post it on my social media accounts. And I have been in talks with the Atlantis Bookshop which is in Bloomsbury in London, to give a talk with them. This is a bookshop that specializes in magic, esotericism, and occult. And very interestingly, they are located in the same square just opposite where Plath and Ted Hughes got married. So that's something I will keep you posted about. Now I'm going to end the presentation and read a short extract from the introduction of the book. In the preface of the collected prose of Sylvia Plath, the editor Peter K. Steinberg highlights that Plath short stories, quote, have concerns with material wealth, poverty, depression, loneliness, and magic. Steinberg's acknowledgement of magic as a significant theme in Plath's prose demonstrates the importance of revisiting and carefully considering the supernatural in her work. Magic was also one of the main themes of the Sylvia Plath Literary Festival in October 2022, celebrating Plath's 90th birthday with events across Hebden Bridge and Heptonstall, and the topic of the poetry and essay collection After Sylvia, edited by Sarah Corbett and Ian Humphreys. The present book is an outcome of the recent and long history of public and scholarly attention to theorizing Plath's engagement with magic. I approach the subject with critical, literary, cultural, political, and gendered perspectives, passion for the subject, and consideration for Plath's published and archival writings. This book brings an interdisciplinary approach to Sylvia Plath and the supernatural themes and retracts previous reductionist narratives on her engagement with the occult. The critical examination of Plath's poetry, prose, and private writings demonstrates the influence of historical, cultural, political, and literary discourses and text on the supernatural in Plath's carefully crafted language. My study of the subject is centered on those aspects and interpretations of the supernatural that are central to Plath's understanding and deployment of the concept within the cultural, historical, and political framework in which she lived, which is post-war America and the Cold War. Throughout the 7 chapters, I investigate what Plath might have meant by invoking or exploring the supernatural, and the way in which she employed its related concepts to articulate political and personal matters in her poetry, fiction and nonfiction, and personal writings. This book is interested in the cultural models Plath draws on in her poetry and prose when she deploys concepts such as the witch, sympathetic magic, black magician, and witch's Sabbath. For example, the concept of witchcraft, one of the several subcategories of the supernatural, is rooted in the early modern witch hunt and its literature, which she was familiar with through her education in American literature and Elizabethan and Jacobean plays. Plath had a varied and often contradictory engagement with the supernatural across different historical periods, classical to contemporary literature and cultural frameworks. My close reading of her works also relies on a draft of her poems and other writings from archives to further illustrate her extensive knowledge and deep interest in the supernatural and its themes. Yet Plath is not the only poet of her generation who utilized supernatural themes in her poetry. Along with her writings, I examined the works of possible poets who have been affiliated with Plath, such as Anne Sexton, Ted Hughes, and writers who are compared less often to Plath, such as Carl Shapiro, Elizabeth Bowen, Arthur Miller, John Berryman, John Ashbery, and Robert Graves, demonstrating the cultural, poetic, and political discourses and texts from which Plath sought inspiration from. This book is interested in those interpretations and aspects of the supernatural that Plath engaged with in her prose and poetry, and the broader literary culture discourses and discussions. In colloquial speech, the lines between magic and witchcraft are often blurred. In Plath's dictionary, the witchcraft is further defined as, quote, practice of which is, quote, power more than natural, and magic is described as, quote, the art which claims to believe to produce effects by the assistance of supernatural beings or by mastery of secret forces in nature. Like the dictionary definitions, Plath's interpretations of this concept was diverse. This book differentiates between the supernatural, meaning all that's beyond our perception of natural occurrences, witchcraft, the supernatural power associated with witches and devil, and magic as the learned supernatural power associated with magicians. These concepts, defined in Plath's dictionary, are rooted in the vocabulary and history of the early modern witch hunt, which provides the historical and theoretical framework for this book. One of the objectives of Sylvia Plath and the supernatural is to move away from the narrow understanding of Plath's engagement with the supernatural, which has often focused on sensationalized understanding of witchcraft, ignoring her well-informed knowledge of the broader subjects. Biographers such as Edward Butcher, earlier critics like Emma Rosenthal, frequently labeled her poems witchy, diabolical, or occultist without unpicking these concepts. Recent critics such as Heather Clark draw attention to the fact that when women poets such as Sylvia Plath are writing about the supernatural themes, they are often labeled playing with, quote, witchcraft or quasi-occult practices. Clark adds that the posthumous identification of Plath with the figure of the priestess or the witch is patronizing, and sexist. Emily Van Dyne likewise affiliates the supernatural with Plath's posthumous life, originating the labels in trauma and misogyny. Van Dyne suggests that the supernatural has been weaponized against Plath and her work, concealing her authentic self and narrative. However, there is also textual evidence among the published and archival writings, drafts, correspondences, and journals that Plath engaged with the supernatural in various ways. This book honored Sylvia Plath from the careless employment of demons, devils, witches, black magic, and more, and contextualizes concepts associated with the supernatural within their historical and cultural framework. I closely examined the terminologies that critics, biographers, and non-specialist readers have equally deployed superficially on Plath for over 6 decades. Plath's writing provides evidence of a broad understanding and knowledge of the history of witch hunts, supernatural beliefs, religious terminologies, and the political rhetoric of the supernatural. The foundation of my analysis, subcategories of the supernatural, and how I employ these terms is the well-defined and well-researched field of witchcraft and demonology, which comprises historical, textual, and discourse analyses interpreting the witch hunt and its causes and outcomes. By relying on this interdisciplinary framework, I provide a new historical culture context for Plath studies and a broader field of 20th century literature. Great. So that was the part I wanted to read. Um, Now we have some questions with Amanda.
Do you want me to stop the recording now or keep it going?
Yeah, yeah.
Never
Or do you
forget.
want me to stop it?
Pause, stop recording. Stop. Stop.